Okay, so welcome back to Think Differently. I want to start. I want to start by saying today's topic is inspired by something that I like to rant about, and then I find myself just getting so. I'm just gonna say it. I just get mad about this. I just get mad about this, and I'm actually like part of my message today is actually important that I say, like, I'm not going to apologize for being mad at this. I'm not going to go run around and be mad at all the people that I'm like. I'm actually not mad at the people. Before I say, let me just quickly tell you the title of today. Today's title is "The Two Words in the Online Space That Drive Me Up the Wall," and how letting go of them makes sales so much easier. So I'll walk you through. I'm not going to tease it out like much. I'll walk you through what those two words are, and there's a couple of different variations. And then what I want you to hear / know is that these words, like, there's some very clear places where they play out, and that's kind of where I got it from, and like what makes me mad. But there's the lesson for today is not like that I'm mad at these. I'm not mad at anyone directly, but like I'm mad at these two words, or these two words, how they're used. I'm not mad at that in and of itself, and we're going to talk about it. It comes from a really good place. It has really good intentions. There is a time and a place for these two words, and I'm going to talk about where that is. It's just that it's taken and been used in so many different places, and it becomes a set of messaging, and really plays on society's belief systems about like what women are supposed to be like, what sales is supposed to be like, and it really just plays into all the patriarchal messaging that we have been marinating in and swimming in for our entire lives. And so even though it has really good intentions and it's intended to be good, and again, it has really good places where it works, by and large, I find that it's more damaging than good, and it really just needs to be used in very specific ways. People just use it all the time everywhere. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So I mostly find these two words used in networking. So if you're not a networking person, I still want you to hear and listen, stay and listen, because this really isn't about networking. It's really not about networking events. It's really not about any of that. That's kind of how it got started, or where I see it play out. But this really can be applicable to any marketing strategy that you use. This is applicable to any way that you run your business. And I encourage you to, this is less for people, I encourage you to find places where you've subscribed to this belief system and start to tease out for yourself, like, okay, I ascribe to this belief system over here, but not over here. And that's really what I want you to sort of take away from today. I hope that makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna stop. We love a good rant. Good. I'm gonna stop teasing it out because I really do want to tell you what it is first, because I can't talk about this if I don't just tell you what it is. So the two words that drive me up a wall are, and there's so many variations, but it usually comes down to either no pitch or pitch free, which is really the same thing. And again, I see that very, very often in places. She's laughing already. Yeah, I know. I see it happening a lot in networking events, right? It's one thing that I say a lot of times when you join my Real Connections networking events. I say very clearly up front, like, this is not a no pitch space. We want to hear about your offers. We want to hear what you have to, what you're offering, what your business does. And again, I find that that's where it sort of starts. Like, that's where I think that most people think about, like, no pitch or pitch free, we're just going to make connections. We're not going to pitch. And again, there's a time and a place for that. We're going to talk about that. But that's what gets in my craw, as we say in the South. And yes, 100%. Yes, good. Glad you're with me. And also, it plays out in other places in our business. And so this is where I really want to talk about it, because it's not, again, this isn't about networking. This plays out in free events when people are offering free value, where people are doing it's like this. Like, this is me giving you free value. You can bet that I'm going to also talk about how you can work with me, right? The whole hour here, or 45 minutes, or however long we're here, is not going to be an hour-long pitch. But I am going to tell you how you can work with me. And I'm in business, and I don't need to apologize for that, right? And so I think a lot of times this plays out in webinars, in masterclasses where people, for very good reasons, because lots of people used to have an hour-long masterclass that you thought was going to be like free like actual value and like teach you something, and it's just basically like pretend fluff for 5 minutes. They pretend to teach you something, and then like the rest is a sales pitch. Like that's a bait and switch. And so we're wanting to get away from that. And so we tell people, come to my free webinar, there will be no pitch, right? Come to my free thing, I'm gonna give you all this value, there will be no pitch. Like I promise it's safe, you don't have to have it, there won't be any pitches, right? And again, this comes from a good place, we're gonna talk about this. And then the other place where I see this playing out is in discovery calls, or whatever version of a discovery call is for your business, where people have an opportunity to sit down and talk to you for free, generally speaking, or even if it's like a low paid, I know a lot of people, I've actually done some $99 calls where it's like a paid sales call. But no matter what that version is for you in your business, where it's essentially a sales call, it's a like, hey, are we gonna work together? Hey, can I sell you my thing? Do you want my service? Do you wanna work together? Whatever the thing is. I find oftentimes when people say like, hey, book a discovery call and, let's talk about it, there's also like I see this so often where somebody will say, I literally wrote it down. It kind of comes out in some version of like, this isn't a pitch, it's just a conversation. And I think that's really confusing if I'm getting on a sales call, right? Like, I don't want to just have a coffee chat with you. If I'm booking a discovery call with you, I want to actually like talk about my problem and see if you can help me, and see if you're the right person, see if you have the solution, see if you're the right person to help me, see if we can work together. I want you to tell me what your offer is and how it works and how that's going to work. I want, as a consumer, as a buyer, I want to know that. That helps me feel comfortable that I can, hire you. And so again, this sort of pitch free, it can be in a networking event, and that's like the place where it's nails on a chalkboard for me as a person who hosts networking events. I've been networking. I mean, technically, I've been networking my whole career. Half my jobs in corporate I got through my network, and I've been networking. I started this business 8+ years ago, and I started networking with entrepreneurs. Like, I don't know, 6 months before I even started a business. I was still unemployed trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I started networking with entrepreneurs. So I've been doing this a long time, is what I'm trying to say. And for a long time, it has bothered me. So you will get a rant, you will get a productive conversation today. But that's what we're talking about today. And I'm gonna start off by addressing your buts. But Laura, there's a time and a place for this. Yes, we're gonna talk about when there's a time and a place for this. And what was my other but? Oh, and it comes from a really good place. It's trying to solve a problem with the wrong action. And so I want to talk about what to do about it, okay? All right, but I'm seeing some comments here, so I'm just going to quickly check the chat. Okay. They should definitely, yes, for a discovery call. They should definitely pitch there. It's called the discovery call. It's the discovery call purpose. Exactly. But again, I think it comes from a really good place. So let's talk about that, because we want to, just like anything that we don't like, we want to harness the intention behind it. There's a reason we don't like it, okay? I'll actually talk about that first, and then I'll talk about where there's a good, I feel like that's where we're going first. So let's talk about what the good intention is, right? It comes from a good intention. Here's what we don't want. And I ascribe to this too. I don't want this shit either. I don't want a slimy car salesman. I have literally gone twice. I bought new cars from a dealer as a single woman and I went to the dealer by myself and bought a car. And it was like one of the most, it makes me want to cry. Like, it was one of the most confronting and empowering and infuriating experiences of my life. Right? So we don't want that. I could probably do a whole live on that. That could actually be interesting. We don't want that, right? We don't want the slimy car salesman. We don't want the slime, right? And if you're here and you're in my audience, I know, because I am very, 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 very clear in my marketing about who I'm talking to. I'm talking to people who have really good work services available to make the world a better place for their clients, for the world. And you want to be, and you probably are very lit up, or you want to be lit up in your work with your clients. Like, you have such a deeply positive, authentic, mission driven, values driven, whatever you want to say, purpose in your business. And you believe the crap out of what you do and what you offer. And so the last thing you want to do is be like, come buy my stuff, like the people that go to networking events and like all they do is just put their links in the chat. Buy my stuff, or you're like in a small breakout room and they're not listening at all to what you're saying. And they're just like either talking over you, spending all their time talking about themselves, telling you why you need to work with them, and you just met them and they don't even know if you have the problem they solve, like all of that. We don't want to be that, okay? And I don't want to be that either, and this isn't me trying to tell you to be that, right? So it comes from a really, really, really good place, right? People who don't ask consent before making an offer, people who, all the things, the slime, the people who just like have dollar signs. I'm almost like imagining, like the like Bugs Bunny, where his like eyeballs pop out and they're dollar signs, like boing, boing, like all they see is dollar signs, right? Yes, we're here to make money in our business, and also we want to do it in an authentic way, and that is possible. Let me not say that like a question. That is possible. Okay. So again, this no pitch, this like, again, back to the webinars. I think webinars are such a great example because if you think about, if you've been in business for a while, you know what I'm talking about. You've been to the fluffy webinars where you're like, I was here for an hour, I got a full hour sales pitch, I'm still waiting for the value. Why would I buy your shit? That's a bait and switch. And so we don't want to be like that. And again, I'm not suggesting that you be like that, but we swing the pendulum too far, right? We take what we don't want. We're so turned off by it that we we fly over to the other side of the pendulum swing. We fly to the other side of the continuum, and that's really just either or mindset, right? I can either make a sale, or I can be authentic and ethical. And so I choose to be authentic and ethical instead of being able to make a sale. No, my friend, you can have both. You can have both. Okay. So let me do a couple of why this. So does that make sense in terms of, I'm actually seeing a couple comments. Does that make sense in terms of the intention? It comes from a good place. So we're not trying to say here that slimy salespeople is it. It's just also that like, we don't have to like, I think this is also like this is how I learned to set boundaries, because as a woman, as a little girl growing up in the South, like, how do I say this? Like, we aren't taught how to build boundaries. And then I did a whole masterclass on boundaries, by the way. If you want that, just shoot me a message and I'll send it to you. It's free. But I talked a lot in that class about like how when I was a little kid, like we were not taught how to set boundaries. And then when I was about in middle school, my mom started learning boundaries, and she was so transparent, and it was so beautiful how as she was learning, she was authentically and transparently sharing with us. I have a sister too, how to set boundaries and what that looks like. And also when we do that, sometimes we go to the other side. Fuck you. I have concrete walls between me and you, like, you suck, you're dead to me, like, it's over, right? And that's what we do with no pitch. It's like, I'm so annoyed by the slime that I just throw the baby out with the bathwater. I decide that sales are slimy. And so we have to find a way to run business without actually selling. And like, that's just an impossible position. It's just absolutely impossible. Unless you're running a nonprofit organization, in which case then you have to go ask people for funding. I'm sorry, but that's the way, this is business, right? And I'm not, again, okay. It's how you present it. Exactly. Okay. And you're vomiting when I talked about the slime. Yes. Okay, good. You're feeling me. I know if you're here, you are very heart-centered. You're very passionate. What you do feels really important. And it's important that you're being ethical and authentic and yourself and not being gross. And we also have to sell. And so again, we're trying to find the line between the two extremes here. Okay, let me check my notes because I have a lot of things I want to say. Now that I've started my rant, I feel better. Okay, time and a place. Here's my caveat. But Laura, I have this group. But Laura, I have this thing. I definitely feel that it is important to have no pitch rules in certain circumstances. And I'm just gonna give you a few. There's lots of circumstances where this makes sense, okay? So I don't want for you to be thinking like now you have to go allow people to pitch in places that it just doesn't make sense. So if you have there's a lot of Facebook groups. I don't know if you're still in Facebook groups. So there's a lot of Facebook groups that have no pitching rules, and they're for very, very, very good reasons. One might just simply be that it's a Facebook group for a bunch of humans and consumers and not necessarily for business owners, right? So when we think about networking events for business owners, it's very clearly obvious. Everybody's there, for the same purpose. We're trying to create referral partners. We're trying to create colleagues. We're trying to see if there's, clients or referrals that we can get from that and share, right? Of course, reciprocal, like you want to also give. And so it makes sense to allow people to pitch, or better said, to talk about their offers in that type of environment. Whereas if we're not actually in a group of business owners, right, and you have a community on Facebook, say, that's free, where you provide value, let's say maybe you teach people how to eat healthy or whatever, like that wouldn't be appropriate for like some random person to come in and be like, hey, here's my MLM, what is it called? Like essential oils, buy this. Like, no, people are here to learn how from you to eat healthy. Like that's not appropriate. Does that make sense? So there are, again, there's really good times and places for this. So some Facebook groups, any groups or communities that are not business owners, then that may or may not make sense. And you want to really think that through. And then the other one, really, really important, I think, is like closed communities. So if you have, let's say, a membership or a group program, right, where people are paying you to come together to do some sort of thing or learn some sort of thing or come together, that may not make sense, right, to allow people to talk about their offers when that's not really the point of the group, and where that would be distracting and confusing and remove trust, right? If I'm a participant in a group program where I'm here to I don't know, let's just say a life coaching, personal transformation. I just want to learn more about myself and grow as a person. And I'm there in some other coach's group to learn how to develop myself personally and, whatever. It's not appropriate for me to be like, oh, you're a business owner, I can help you. We're not there to do that. Do you know what I'm saying? And again, if someone asks, or if we want to have a side conversation, or they're interested in learning more, of course, but that's just a very different purpose, and it's not really a place where we are selling. Does that make sense? So there are lots of times and places where that makes sense, and so I'm not mad at that. And again, I think if you have a community, that's literally something you have to be thinking about. And I do also think, let me just also say, I think there are networking events where the purpose is a little bit different. If you're teaching something, if you're honing a skill of some sort, again, maybe they're there to sell to each other and refer business, but maybe they're not. And also maybe there's a time and a place for that within your community, within your offer, that is different and sort of set aside, if that makes sense. So again, I want to really open your mind to removing the all or nothing options and finding the middle ground for yourself, for your business. You have to find that space for yourself. Okay. Okay. I want to also just quickly say, from a networking standpoint, because again, that's where this originated. I find that, how do I want to say this? I have been to so many networking events where they say this is no pitch, but they don't articulate what that means specifically. And everybody has their own definition of what no pitch means. Some people think that my Real Connections networking is no pitch because we don't really set it, well, I shouldn't say that. Because it's a place to connect authentically. It feels good. And because it's not slimy feeling, they think it's a no pitch place. And people have actually thanked me for offering a no pitch space. And I feel I say oh, you're so welcome. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. You're also welcome to talk about your offers. Because again, I think some people think no pitch means don't be slimy, right? And some people mean, I've been to other events where no pitch is the whole other end of the spectrum, which is like, do not talk about yourself. Do not talk about your business. Do not talk about what you do. Do not talk about your offers. If you have a free webinar next week, don't tell us. We are only here to connect as people and make friends. And then if we like each other, we will then, the business will follow, kind of thing. I actually was part of an organization that was their motto. And they're allowed to do whatever they want, right? They're allowed to do whatever they want, but it did make it a really freaking harder to sell. And that's why I'm not a member of that organization anymore. Side note. But without those rules, right? The specifics. And so if you are in a networking place, I do encourage you to ask the organizer, like, what does that mean specifically? Like, what am I allowed to do and what am I not? Because again, some people say no pitch, but they really just mean don't be slimy. Okay, I got that, but I can talk about what I do, and I can tell you I have an offer, or I can tell you about my free event next week. Like, am I allowed to do that? And that, I think, is where it gets confusing, because when we don't know, but we're told no pitch, we all make our own definitions of what that means. And then it puts us in a really awkward position / impossible position, because you're in a space where you're talking about business, but you're not really allowed to talk all the way about business, for the intention of, I hope you're following me, for the intention of being authentic and not slimy. But with all those rules, now I'm so worried about following the rules and making sure I'm not like being a bad girl and like I'm making somebody uncomfortable and breaking the rules that's going to get me kicked out or get somebody offended, that now I'm not being authentic because I've just got 14 like filters on, because I don't know how to be myself here, because I'm like, what can I say that? Can I say that? Is this okay? I don't know, right? And then I'm just like in this weird pretzel-y space of trying to be myself. And ironically, the intention is to be more authentic, and the intention actually like completely backfires. And what you actually get is inauthenticity, because people are sort of pretending. And I don't mean that in a manipulative way, but I don't like, right? Like I was talking, like I have to like, okay, but can I say this? Is that okay? And if I don't say this, is that okay? And then I'm just not listening to the person in front of me. And we're not able to engage as authentically with, so they say, as the mask down or like the filter open. Again, have boundaries and have appropriate filters on. But, right, can you see how that's really fucking confusing and does not create a space for authenticity if I don't know when and where and how to talk about my work? And so then either I don't talk about my work, which means, why am I here? Right? I'm here to grow my business. I'm not here to slam you, right? There's an in between. But why am I here? And what am I doing? And that's where I find a lot of people tell me, clients and colleagues tell me, they feel like their networking efforts are not as efficient as they could be. And sometimes it's because of this. Okay. Is this making sense? Oh yeah, I want to say one more thing. Oh, you're so nice. I was talking about real connections. It feels good because I should check these comments a little bit more often. It feels good because it's you. Thank you. But I do think like I've been so incredibly intentional from the beginning with how I run these groups, and that's why it feels good. I mean, I'll take the credit, thank you, and also because I was intentional, and because I know really good people. Okay. The other thing I will own, again, I've talked a little bit about this as a little girl growing up in the South, right? The southeastern United States is notorious for, like, oh, bless her heart, she's so fat, right? Bless her heart, she just doesn't know what she's doing, right? That's like what my grandmother used to say. And it was really confusing to me as a little kid. Like, this is my wounding. This is like the shit I had to work through. And frankly, in some ways, I'm still working through it. I'll probably be working through it my entire life. And I was the girl at home that spoke the truth, that spoke things directly, that said, okay, so what you're saying is you don't want me to do that because blah, blah, blah. That's bullshit, right? Like, and that got me in a lot of trouble. My mouth got me in a lot of trouble as a kid. My mouth gets me, that's exactly like what people pay me for now. Like, I just think that's the best revenge. Love you, mom and dad. Love you, family. Love you, whatever. And the Southern culture was really hard for me. And because I was not given the truth, right? I was like, well, right. And this is what we do to women. This is why this is so such patriarchy messaging, and why this is so damaging for women, and why this is a topic of conversation on minimum once a week in all of my client conversations. But I would say each client probably brings some version of this to me every single month, because we have been swimming in this, women, our entire lives. And even if you were like me and you came in as a straight shooter, right, like society has told you that's not okay. And so it keeps us playing small, right? It makes us, and it's really subtle, right? Because it's like, well, we don't want to be a slimy salesman, so we should be good girls, right? Be a good girl, like be a good person. But also you get to ask for what you want. Also you get to talk about what you do for a living. Also you get to make people offers on your discovery calls. Also you get to make offers on your free events. But it just puts you in this impossible, like, don't talk about what you do, but somehow magically get them to see what you do so that they will want to work with you, and then they'll call you, and then you can just go like this, and you don't need to be too pushy, and then you can, right? It's like you can't fucking win when you try to follow those rules, because those rules are intended to keep you down. Those rules are not intended to have you thriving. Those rules are not for women. Those rules are not, right? Those rules are the patriarchy. And when you can see it that way, it makes it so much easier to be like, okay, right? It might not be easy to make yourself make more offers, or to make yourself talk about things, or to make yourself, I mean, this is like the note that I give my clients on every single sales page, every piece of content that I review. Every time they tell me about a discovery call, my note for them 9 times out of 10 is a place where they can 1% be more direct, or in some cases 30% more direct, right? Places where they're leaving money on the table, places where they are asking their audience or their clients to do the job that they are supposed to do, because they were taught that wasn't the right way to be as a woman. That's not nice, right? And again, I'm not saying be a hard-ass bitch. There is a middle ground, and finding your middle ground is the journey here. Okay. Okay, so we talked about, I'm just like going in a slightly different order than my notes, which is fine, but I want to say a couple things. So we talked about the caveats of why this actually makes sense in certain circumstances. Nothing's either or, right? Why it comes from good intentions and the things that we all don't want. But it also includes this like either or mindset of like, I don't want to be a slimy salesperson, so I can't blah, 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 right? We talked, if you missed my Think Differently on social media a couple weeks ago, just hit reply to either tell me in the chat in here, or hit reply to the email that gives you this replay, and I'll send it to you. But I talked about like how to deal with the fact that social media feels like out of alignment values wise, and how to use that for your business and still stay in your values. It was very, very rich conversation. Several people said it's really made a huge difference for them. So take me up on that. It's totally free. It's sitting on my website. Allow me to send you the link. Why am I telling you this? But I talked about this in that live. Anything can be bastardized, right? And that's probably not the best word to use. Like anything can be used for good or for evil, right? Sex, right? Sex can be used for good, or it can be a crime when it's actually not sex, it's a crime, right? When it's not consensual. Like anything, money can be used for good or evil, right? But like, just because there are people in the world right now who everybody is protesting because they're making money in unethical ways, doesn't mean that doesn't mean that money's bad. Money's not the problem. It's the people and the way that they're doing it. It doesn't mean that you can't also make money in your business. Like that doesn't mean that you're then just as bad as they are. That doesn't make sense. Anything can be bastardized, and so can, or again, let me not say bastardized because I just feel like that's a very weird word. Anything can be used for good or for evil, right? So don't be the slimy salesperson. Don't use it for evil. Don't be the billionaire who like won't even pay for healthcare for their employees. But that doesn't mean you throw the baby out with the bathwater and you can't sell. And again, a lot of times it's like, great, I hear you. And also that concept plays out in your sales pages. That concept plays out in your discovery calls. That concept plays out in places where you feel like you need to apologize for making people an offer or telling people about what you do. And that is what is keeping so many female entrepreneurs stuck or playing small or just making it harder on yourself because you're waiting for people to come to you as opposed to also making the offers. And then the other thing I want to say, like I talked a minute ago about like swinging the pendulum, we just run to the other side, right? It's either or, and so we don't want the slimy, so we just move into the other, like, okay, I'm not going to sell. I'm just going to stand here and hope people figure it out. A general rule of thumb that I find has been helpful for me to think about it of like where to draw the line, and my clients tell me this is helpful too, is three questions you can ask yourself. One is, did the person raise their hand to be sold to? And that can look like, did they book a discovery call? Okay, that means they're interested in possibly working with you. It doesn't mean they're gonna work with you. You still need to have the conversation, make the sale, give them a chance to make sure this is right for them, all those things, right? But if they raise their hand to be sold to, you have permission to make them an offer. Number two, is there an energy exchange here? Can you make an energy exchange? I'm sitting here with you for 45 to 60 minutes to give you all the stuff that I know about this, right? Because I want you to be able to run your business better. I want you to make more money. I want your business to be thriving. I want you to enjoy it. I want you to have a life on the outside of your business, right? And so I'm here giving you all this value, and also I can tell you what I'm doing so that I can invite you to the next thing, to the next step. Right? I can tell you what I do for a living. I can tell you, make you an offer, right? So that's I like to think about that as an even energy exchange or just an energy exchange. It doesn't even need to be even, right? But I don't need to apologize if I'm giving you value. I don't need to apologize for also telling you how you can work with me. And also, that's really confusing if you're here and you're like, wow, I like learning what you have to say. I like the way you think about business. Maybe you could help me as a business coach. And then I'm like, okay, bye, right? Like, why would I not tell you that I could work with you and that I would enjoy that? Do you know what I'm saying? Like that starts to be a little weird. Like if I went to the doctor and said I had this problem and they're like, okay, let me know. Like, no, I'm literally here, help me, right? And then what was the third thing? So did they raise their hand to be sold to? Is there an energy exchange? And then I also like it this way. Did they walk into your store? Your store, right? Like I'm a service provider. Most of my clients are service providers or coaches, right? But if you think about like the physical businesses, I think it's a little bit easier to think about your business that way. If I walk into a bakery, it's fair for them to think that I might want to buy something and to give me a sample of I always talk about like chocolate croissant. Yes, I would like to taste your chocolate croissant so that I can decide what to buy. Like I'm there to probably buy. I can turn around and walk out. But like, what if they're like behind the counter? Haven't you been somewhere where someone's behind the counter and they're not looking at you and they're not acknowledging you and you're like really excited to go in there to buy the chocolate croissant or a cup of coffee and they're not that they need to like bow down, right? But like, and they're not interested in helping you. Like that's kind of what we're talking about here. That's the mindset that, again, you're trying so hard not to be slimy, right? The person behind the counter, what if the person behind the counter's brain is like, well, if they want what I have, they'll ask me. No, I actually really want to walk into a thing and have somebody say, hey, how can I help you? Welcome to my store. What can I get you? Do you have any questions? Or if I'm looking at the menu, can I help you make a decision? Right? Thinking about it that way feels a lot less slimy and a lot more like this person walked into my store. It is my responsibility to offer them something. Yes, connect the dots for people when you can on sales calls, 100%, right? Like versus like, doop, right? Okay, so why is this damaging? We talked about this. This is how business works, right? This concept of like you can't pitch. okay, so I can't be a business owner in this space. Like, that's just how business works. And again, I'm being a little dramatic with it. I don't think most of you are like listening to this like, oh, I never thought about like that's how business works. But what I'm hoping that you will hear is like, we can understand that at a high level, like, okay, got it. But what I'm hoping that you'll see is the sneaky, subtle, quiet, not to be AI, but the very subtle ways that it's playing out, where you think you don't ascribe to that thought process or belief system, but you do somewhere in there. We all do at some point, because that's what we've been baking in our whole lives. And so, just the reminder, right? Like if you feel like you need permission, right? Like, and you're on an event like this and you need to be able to make an offer. Like I always go, okay, this isn't even energy. This is an energy exchange. People have walked into my store. It is my responsibility to make an offer, right? This is how business is, right? As opposed to, oh my God, they're going to think I'm slimy and then they're definitely not going to buy from me. And then, oh my gosh, I better just be a good girl. Right. Okay, we also talked about how it's damaging in that it actually creates less authenticity, which also means it damages the relationship, which also means that's the opposite of building trust, right? If you have to pretzel yourself and like be on a call and not tell people how they can take the next step, they're not gonna, even if they're like, wow, this is exactly what I need, they're probably gonna go somewhere else because you didn't make them the offer. And I will tell you that I have so many examples of times where I have seriously considered hiring someone and they were so waiting for me that I felt, look, I'm a very strong person. I got this. I'm asking for help. It's actually kind of hard for me to ask for help, to be honest with you. As a hyper independent person, I know many of you are there as well. And so like, I got up off my butt to make the discovery call. I really sat down and shared with you what my problems are. I'm wondering if you're the right person to help me. And you're kind of leaving me hanging. To Stacy's point, you're not connecting the dots for me about, oh, I see your problem and then here's my solution and here's how that would look. How does that sound? They're not holding me in that, and that is what makes me, and it's not just me, feel uncomfortable as a buyer or feel unsafe to buy it. I'm being dramatic about unsafe, but like, I don't know if you can handle me. And if I don't know if you can handle me and my problem, then I'm definitely not going to invest. Does that make sense? And that's where it creates that like inauthenticity. It creates a lack of trust. Actually, you're trying so hard to build trust by people pleasing and by over giving, because that's what women are told to do. Be there for everyone else, take care of everyone else's needs, don't make it uncomfortable for anyone, be the good girl, good boy, good person, right? And ironically, it creates the opposite effect. Yeah, okay, so this is like what society tells us, right? Women aren't supposed to be direct. We can either be like, what's the double bind, right? Women are either likable or competent, they're not both, right? Man, that's a bitch, right? If I am so worried about being liked because I want to be liked, and or if I'm so worried about being liked because I think that's the only way to make a sale, can you see how I will downplay my competence? I will downplay how I can help you. I will downplay, right? I will keep myself playing small because I'm so worried about not making you uncomfortable and being slimy. And that's the good girl conditioning. And it's not just women. I do want to say, like, this is very much the patriarchy, but I know plenty of men that have struggled with this as well. And this is not and non-binary people, this is not necessarily a gender thing. It's just, it is very much a female thing. And also various people have absolutely, this is like kind of what society tells you to do, and tells you is not okay. And it's what, frankly, I think we are really progressing out of. But I feel like this is this generation's like nemesis. And I literally had a client this morning, like in part of her message to me in Basecamp, where I message my clients back and forth in between sessions, She was like, I'm worried about this from a practical standpoint. I'm worried about this from a mindset perspective. And then also, I just feel like right now it feels harder to be a woman right now in today's environment. And I just want to honor that because the messaging is louder. The shitty messaging is louder, but the good messaging is louder also. And so I do believe we are progressing. I know that we are progressing, but I think just to remember, like, this plays out. There's very obvious ways it plays out and very subtle ways it plays out. And I really want you to see how you could be just damaging yourself. And frankly, like, this is leaving money on the table. This is how a lot of women have a loyal audience, have people that are interested, and they're just leaving money on the table because people don't quite, that final step isn't quite being covered. I could do a whole conversation on sales calls, so I will leave it here. But there is a way to have a sales call where you can be neutral and engage the person and make the offer, right? Like that is a thing that you can do. And you don't need to apologize. I just feel really important, like that unapologetic vibe is so, as a buyer, it feels so supportive to have someone be unapologetic. It doesn't mean that you need to push me and pressure me to buy your thing. And again, I think that's what we're so worried about doing. But when someone on the other side is unapologetic and tells me I've got you and this is how I see your problem and this is how I can help you, like, take my friggin' money. That's who I want to work with. And I think more and more and more, that's who lots of people want to work with, right? Okay, I'm gonna check my notes because I think I had one more thing I want to say, but I'm gonna check the comments and then let's see. One more thing. Yes, and absolutely, Stacey's saying downplay emotions in some cases and being human. Yeah, I mean, we have to just be human with each other, right? I think that's what you're saying. But yeah, we do downplay our emotions, or we think I think honestly, like my ability to be in touch, our ability to be in touch with our emotions and our empathy and to be able to express that is also gives us the gift of being able to see that in the person across the table from us. That's so valuable. It's so, so valuable. It makes people feel seen. And the good girl conditioning, again, that good girl conditioning, good person conditioning, good boy conditioning, that plays out really everywhere. Everywhere, right? It's sort of what's underneath the people pleasing aspect of things. It's what's under not wanting to rock the boat. It's under so many things. And again, it doesn't mean that you need to, like, years and years and years ago, my coach, I'll give credit to Kim Argetsinger. She did a masterclass. This is like 100 years ago. It's probably before I hired her. I don't even know, pre-pandemic. She did a masterclass where she was talking about like how to make sales authentically. And she was like, you don't like walk into a store and go, buy my shit, and then like run, right? Like she was talking about, I think we were talking about like, I think she was talking about like in Facebook groups where people would just throw their links in the comments and then run away. And like, well, Facebook groups don't work because I put all my stuff in there and nobody buys, right? If that's all you're doing, you're missing the point of developing the relationship. Same with networking. Like, again, this doesn't mean you come to my Real Connections networking and like all we do is spam each other with links. In fact, the chat is turned off and I give you a question to have to facilitate the conversation so you actually get to know the person. You get to know the person and the business. And we always really talk about and emphasize, like, that's what we're here to do. We're here to get to know the person behind the business, and we're here to also understand what it is that you do so that we can send you referrals or hire you if that's what we're looking for, or collaborate, etc. But we can't do that if we're not able to talk about both pieces. And to only talk about the business, we lose the human element, right? And so we can have the both, and that's what we do at Real Connections. And almost every single event, very few exceptions, we do like small breakout rooms. We usually do 3 rounds. At least one of those rounds of breakout rooms, we say, what are you promoting? Tell us about an offer. Whether it's free, whether it's paid, whatever. Tell us what you do so that we can help you fill your program, fill your whatever. It's specifically like, that's the question on the table for everybody to share. So we can do that and build a relationship. And that's what we're looking to do in our content. That's what we're looking to do in our marketing. That's what we're looking to do in webinars and lives and conversion events. That's what we're looking to do with our free content. Or value content. That's what we're looking to do in sales calls, right? All of these places, that's what we're really looking to do. We want to put the human in there. We want to also talk about our offers, and that's kind of the sweet spot. And you don't need to apologize. And it's okay to pitch, right? It's okay to pitch. It's okay to pitch. Okay. I will share with you, I have a couple of things going on. First off, I have a single strategy session. If you are like, great, this is a thing that I need help with, and also I need to talk about it. I need to talk about how it plays out for me. I need to really dive into the mindset stuff that I've got, the conditioning that I have that keeps me playing small. This is a really great topic for a single strategy session. I will put, oh, you know what? I just realized I never put the links in the chat. Let me put the links in the chat here. And the links will also be in your replay email. So book a free, it's not free, book a strategy session with me, and we can talk about really any topic in your business. So if you just want to do some strategic planning, if you have an important decision to make, if you really want to talk through like how to make your marketing more effective, those are the 3 places that I tend to spend most of my time. Actually, there's 4. The 4th place that I usually spend most of my time in these strategy sessions is in looking at your offers. If you've got a new offer that you want to land pricing and structure around, if you want to figure out how to position a new offer, or if you've got an old offer, or you want to look at your offer suite again and kind of think through what makes the most sense, any tweaks and changes you need to make. It's a really good opportunity for that. And then the other thing I have going on is I do not have a link for you to sign up yet because I am still working on the sales page, and I'm still finishing up deciding exactly when it's going to be, but it'll be the second half of June. I'm going to be doing, I haven't done this in a long time. I'm doing another free masterclass. So this will be probably run a little bit less than an hour in terms of actual content. And then there is a Q&A, which I will leave open for I'll run for 90 minutes if I need to make sure that everybody's questions get answered. So, and what we're talking about, I really want to share this, even though, again, you can't sign up yet. Let me just say this. If you're interested in signing up, you can say so in the chat, or you can hit reply to the email that has this replay, and I will send you the link as soon as it's available. So I'll just, in that way you can save the date. Yeah, again, probably the last week of June. But what are we talking about? So this is something I've actually been really working hard behind the scenes on, putting together a compilation of things that have been working for me and my clients, especially in the last couple of years since the industry has shifted. I think if you are finding that your marketing efforts aren't working, aren't bringing in enough clients, or if your marketing is working and you've got like a solid client roster, but I feel like the number one challenge I'm hearing from people whose roster is full is, yeah, but I don't have time to market and deliver work to my client. I don't have time to do the client work and do the marketing. And so in both cases, I'm hearing a lot of, I need a better ROI on my marketing. I need to not be spending all my time marketing. I need to also book clients or serve the clients, right? Like all of the above. And that push-pull, I think in some ways that's just business, right? Like we wear both hats. I am always the number one salesperson and marketing person on my business. And I'm also the number one client delivery person in my business. And there are days where that feels like a conflict. And in some ways that's just the nature of business. So I can't like solve that specific problem, but it can be made easier. We can do better. And I think that what has shifted in the industry from the trust recession to longer sales cycles, people are still buying. My clients are having great results. I'm doing really well. Like this is not an environment that is not possible to make good money or to make good sales. There are lots of businesses that are thriving, but it does take more intentionality. It takes better marketing. It takes more when it comes to your marketing. And so much of what I'm working on with my clients behind the scenes is really looking at where's the like 80-20, where's the like place where we can double down, and where's the like, yeah, that's good, but it's not actually getting us the same level of results. And we just, back in 2020, we could kind of do a whole mess of things and it would all kind of just work and bring us the people. And I find that we need to be a little bit more focused now, and we need to do a better job refining. We need to really put in the work on our messaging and all of those things. So all of that to say, we're going to talk about what's working in 2026. We're going to talk about how to build strategic relationships. This masterclass is called Rich Networks. So how do you build rich networks? It's not really about networking, right? But it's like, how do you build rich networks in your business? And this is applicable to any marketing strategy, whether you're on social media, whether you're mostly speaking engagements or word of mouth, whether you're doing networking, whatever you're using, podcasting, speaking, all the things. Whatever you're using in your marketing strategy, this is applicable. And we want to build what I call rich networks. Rich because they make you rich, but also rich because it creates a depth of relationship. And this is how we create loyal audiences with raving fans. This is how we create word of mouth marketing. This is how we create referrals. This is how we create a pipeline that's full of right fit clients that are ready to work with you. And then the other thing that this does, I literally had just somebody quote me on LinkedIn a couple days ago. Like, my Real Connections networking, by the way, those events, I do promote them. I promote them on social media. I do promote them. And I have done a lot to bring in, traffic. But in the last year, the efforts that I have done to promote those events have been far exceeded by the efforts that my audience has done to promote those events. People constantly bring people in, refer people to it. I would say, I have to go back and look at the numbers, but the vast majority of Real Connections, new people that are coming in are not coming in because I posted on social media. I'm still getting that. But the majority of it is because people are sharing it with their audience, with their network, with their people. And so your rich network is what gives you that compound effect, right? Like when you invest in the stock market, it's the same kind of concept. And so we're going to talk about at the masterclass is how to create a rich network, what that looks like, and how you can do that for your business, because that is how you can make your marketing better, but it's also how you can be more efficient and get a better ROI on it so that you're not spending all your time marketing. So if that sounds interesting to you, drop me a note in the chat, drop me a note, just hit reply to the email, and I will get you that link as soon as it's available so you can block your time. I do encourage you to come live because we will be doing, like I said, a pretty full Q&A. So it's a really good opportunity to get questions answered there. And then I will always, give away a lot of free goodies for the people who join live. So, okay, that's my quick and dirty, not so quick and dirty pitch for you for my masterclass. I'm really excited. I haven't done one of these since like September, I think, of last year, October of last year. So it's time, and this is a new one. This is stuff I've never talked about before in any of my content. So I'm excited to share it with you. I think it'll be really valuable. Okay, we will do probably maybe one more masterclass. Live, Think Differently, between now and the masterclass, TBD. But that's all I got for you. Thank you so much. If you have questions in the replay, if you're watching the replay and you have questions, or if you want, those of you who are live, you're already entered to win a free coaching session. If you're on the replay and you want to be entered to win, hit reply and tell me your biggest takeaway. Tell me what you got out of this, what your biggest takeaway is. One, that's very helpful for me. Thank you in advance. But two, that will enter you to win a free coaching session. So if you can't join live, you can still be entered. And it is May 28th, so I will be drawing those at the end of the month. So get your questions in, and I'll draw the winners, and I'll let them know probably at the beginning of the month. Okay, friends, see you soon. Thanks for being here.